hiring somebody to handle the sales marketing brand over here, or is it particular functions in the business? How would you break apart kind of what's needed in someone's business?
Again, we're going to go back to what skills and abilities does the owner have and what needs to be supplemented. But the key responsibilities are definitely someone that can help manage the finances. That's got to be critical. How much money do we have to spend? How much money is coming in? And so you may not have a sales operations person if the finance person can do financial projections.
So glad to have you on the Forever Podcast. I'm going to be diving into everything, operations, systems, really buying back the time back in an entrepreneur's life, which is just so important. And really, we're going to uncover a lot of things in this episode. So I'm super excited. But first, can you just let everybody know who you are and what you do?
Sure. Stephanie Warlick with 5 Foot View Consulting. I help small businesses gain back time in their life so that they can scale their business, and I take care of the day-to-day operations. I also am an author and a speaker and a coach helping people scale in the corporate world.
Awesome. And what's going on right now? Like, what's hot in your life right now?
Yeah, this week I am heavy focused on preparing for a speaking engagement in Toronto at Disrupt HR, where I'll be talking about my digital accessibility book, and I'm super excited about that.
Nice. Have you ever been to Toronto?
Once, like a lifetime ago.
Okay.
It was so long ago. I was right out of college. So yeah, I'm looking forward to heading back.
Nice. I've never been, so I would love to go at some point in my life.
Yeah.
Would
Awesome.
love to go. Yeah. Well, cool. One question I have for you is, so for the people that are listening in right now, and there's people joining in right now on the live. So what's one of the most common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs make when it comes to scaling their business?
Oh gosh, lack of delegation is the number one problem with small business owners not being able to scale. They have a fear of relinquishing responsibilities to other people. Somebody's not going to be able to do it as well as them, and that really holds them back from scaling.
Oh, I mean, it's so tough to delegate, though.
It is. It's your baby. No one's going to take care of it. I've been there. I get it. But entrepreneurs and the owners are best at one or two things, the reasons they started the business, and they really need to get all the other stuff that other people can do off their plate.
Yeah. And so what's the first thing that somebody should delegate? Like, so you're growing your business and you're going from solopreneur and you're scaling. What's the first thing that should get off your plate?
I think that varies by person, right? Because you really need to focus on skills and abilities, each person's skills and abilities. So an entrepreneur might be great at sales. The next entrepreneur might be great at finance. So they need to keep what they love and what they're great at and get rid of everything else. So again, it's going to vary by person.
Gotcha. I've often heard admin tasks is like the number one thing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that is something that is a low cost, outsourceable task or set of tasks that can easily go to someone else. So, again, if we keep in mind skills and abilities, typically an entrepreneur is going to demand a higher value for their hourly rate for the work that they're performing. Why not get rid of the lower cost tasks to someone else?
Yeah. I had this experience because I did hear about you should outsource the admin tasks, and the biggest problem with that as an entrepreneur though is like if it's like direct admin tasks for them to do, let's say it's scheduling or checking your emails or just some of those, I feel like that's okay. But if you're having them do something in your business, it's more important to have some kind of SOPs or a process documented before you hire somebody to do that, because they're going to ask you 1,000 questions. Like literally 1,000 questions. So, yeah, what is your experience with that?
Yeah, I agree that SOPs are great. I'm a huge process person. However, I don't know, show me a entrepreneur, solopreneur that's written down all their processes when they've been by themselves, and I don't know, I'll eat my words, but nobody has time for that.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that they bring in a qualified person that they can verbalize what needs to be done, and that
Hmm.
person can write it down for them and execute, and then practice what they wrote down and see if it works and what gaps need to be filled in.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, it is delegation. I guess what's something that goes wrong with delegation
Um,
that you see commonly? Because
super, yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's like, okay, let's delegate, but what are some pitfalls that maybe we can avoid?
yeah. I think level setting expectations.
Mm,
So you want to delegate and you want to have someone that can work independently for you. You don't want to tell them step by step. And so an experienced person in that area can work independently, but they need to know what they're driving to and what the measurement of success is. And as long as that is clear, I think you can have success, but lack of clear expectations. So as an example, one might say, I want you to hire people for me. But if you don't tell them how many people or what kind of people, there's no way that person can be successful, right? So level
yeah.
setting expectations is critical.
Yeah, 100%. I had a conversation with someone else, and like the expectations is just, I think that's in any relationship. Like
Right,
you,
for
you
sure.
got to make sure the expectations are straight, because that's where a lot of times things collide, they don't work out,
Right.
there's a falling out because the expectations are not clear.
Yeah.
And especially as things change too and evolve, they should
Right.
constantly have a checkpoint on expectations.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I have a caveat to that as I'm thinking and you're
Oh,
talking.
okay.
So if I were called in as a consultant, which I often am, I someone might say, I know I need people. And they may not know how many people and they might not have the answers to give an experienced someone to outsource to. But asking the right questions, like, okay, well, what's your budget? And then what do you like to do? And what don't you want to do? Like kind of pulling on those strings to find out how to get to those answers, I think is the next best step
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they may not know what they need.
for sure, for sure. Um, wh- and so as somebody is getting people, so they're building a team, they're starting to delegate. Then what's next? What's next to get them to that next level?
Ooh, building the team is such a big step. Then there's many steps in building a team, right? So I got to
Yeah.
stop there, and that is like again level setting the expectations about what you need and who the right person is. You have to I choose to have multifaceted and skilled folks at the beginning that can wear many hats because in a small
Oh,
business that's what happens, everybody wears many
yes.
hats, right? So the more diverse a person can be, that's kind of where I recommend folks go because you never really know, and that way people can support each other going on vacation or if someone's out, and then you continue to build from there.
You hit my heart. Because so I had an experience where uh was scaling the company, and actually I hired too many specialists and not enough
Mm,
generalists.
mhm.
Um and it definitely bit me in the backside. And it was just such a learning lesson. Like it's something that, like, okay, you got clients that come on board, so you have particular needs, but then okay, what if those clients go away? What if
Yeah,
the you bring on more clients that also, now that's just like a couple of clients that need that one
right,
particular specialized thing, but then now you're moving over to this space, and then they can't transition
right.
quickly enough. So this is like, I feel like this is gold. I mean, people don't realize, like, when you've been on the other side of this, like
Yeah.
this is gold. Um, and hiring those generalists, what are the buckets, like, operationally, like, that should be in? Like, is it, okay, hiring somebody to handle the sales, marketing, brand over here, or is it particular functions in the business? How would you break apart kind of what's needed in someone's business?
Yeah. I again, we're going to go back to what skills and abilities does the owner have,
Yep.
and what needs to be supplemented. But the key responsibilities are definitely someone that can help manage the finances. That's got to be
Mhm.
critical. You know, how
Mhm.
much money do we have to spend? How much money is coming in? And so you may not have a sales operations person if the finance person can do financial projections and
Mhm.
understand, okay, we're short on third quarter, we've got plenty for fourth quarter kind of conversation.
Mhm.
Um, Definitely an operations person that can take care of process, and then sales.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do sales? Business development. That's critical to grow the business.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's the small business owner themselves. They are the ones
Yeah,
that can
that's
represent
true.
their product outwardly facing better than anybody.
Yeah, that's totally true. Totally true. I mean, there's a couple of people like, "Oh, I don't wanna be the face of the business." I'm like,
Right.
"You don't have to suck it up." 'Cause
I
'cause
know.
I don't think you have much of a choice, because it's hard to, like, pass that off to have other people sell. It depends on the business, the industry, all that stuff,
Right.
but, 9 times out of 10, it's gotta be you,
Yeah.
that's at least pushing because it's your baby.
Yeah.
It's something that you started or you created or you're now leading the ship, and you gotta you have the vision. So
Yeah.
it's oftentimes for you to get to a certain point and then start bringing people in,
Yep.
to help support that. What's one of the best channels for sales growth that you've seen, in all the companies that you just helped consult, and what's a really great channel in the service-based industry, like let's say they're B2B service-based industry. I think that's primarily our audience. We do have some B2C, but
Right.
primarily it's B2B. Is there a great channel for sales growth?
LinkedIn has been working for me and several of
Yeah.
my clients. It's a really great way to stay connected. It maintains a professional level, whereas Instagram and Facebook get into pets and dogs and plants and all of that kind of stuff that you may not want to see on a daily basis. But really, to get the nuts and bolts of business conversation, I think LinkedIn is a really good source, and has proven to be successful for clients.
Okay. And then are you just is it just DMing people? Is it just connecting contents?
All of those things.
Okay.
The golden rule is the goodness is to get their email address. So as soon as you
Ah,
can connect, follow them, add value, provide information so that they see you as a valuable resource, get their email, and then stay connected to them through email.
okay. Okay, cool. Cool, cool. And on the operations side, I guess how would you start to systematize things in someone's business? I've even seen like medium-sized companies have terrible systems.
Oh, sure.
I mean, like, I'm like, how are you guys are making millions of dollars and this stuff and this thing, you look behind the curtain, it looks like a it looks
Yeah.
like a circus. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, you guys are still manually
Mhm.
signing something and somebody's got to physically pass it over. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess, and I understand that it depends on what industry, but I guess let's
Sure.
go still to the service-based business. What are some good systems? Is there
Sure.
softwares, programs? Like how would you go about that?
That's a really great question. So when we talk about systems and process, there are three pillars: systems, process, and people. And it is going to differ for all organizations. By the way, it's not uncommon for a medium sized business at 40 to 50 million to still have things under the curtain that you don't want to be looking at, especially if they grew really quickly. If they grew
Yeah,
really quickly, because they just can't keep up. They're just we I have a couple clients where we talk about building the airplane while it's flying in the air, or I use the analogy of changing the tires on the race car while it's going around the track and it never actually pulls in the pit. Like,
yeah,
that's not uncommon. So it is difficult to get to that. But um, before automation, which is I think where you're going in terms of a system, I think
yes,
a process needs to be handwritten the old fashioned way, step by step, and people follow through and check it and make sure that the people part of it work and that makes sense for the people that perform the job. Then you can automate and move to systems. In terms of systems, I was a Salesforce admin for a long time. I'm a big believer in Salesforce, and have a have a friend that's worked for me in 3 different companies as a Salesforce guy.
Okay.
You could do some amazing things with that, and that can cover sales projections as well as customer interactions. So that's definitely a great system. Loved HubSpot as well. Um, there are all kinds of systems. It does depend on the industry in terms of accounting and HR and how big your staff is. What would be an applicable correct next system?
Yeah, for sure. I love HubSpot. And they're not sponsoring this podcast yet. Yet. I do know some people at HubSpot, but I haven't gotten that to happen yet. But I love HubSpot. I have heard good things about Salesforce. I have heard that Salesforce is pretty robust as far as
Absolutely.
like the system. So sometime if a company has a smaller staff or they're doing more of the micro tasks and actions, they shouldn't jump into a giant platform like that because they're going to be overwhelmed and it's expensive. And I mean, as you start to go and get into the, because I think they're more enterprise, right? They're more
Mhm.
enterprise built for
Yeah.
enterprise companies, but I have heard good things about them as well.
Yeah, they can be on the expensive side. It is robust. It is what you need as you continue to go. But if you're working at 40 to 50 million,
Oh
it's
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
for a small business, a Google sheet or an Excel sheet can do the exact same thing.
See, I love that. Sometimes you don't need to get all the fancy stuff. Just
Right.
just start documenting what you're doing
Exactly.
and get it
100%.
into a place, and then you'll figure out what system to
Right.
actually put it into.
Yes.
And what do you think about the custom made systems? So I don't know if you've ever seen like where somebody's got like their own built CRM system, or like it's almost like some mad scientist went back there and it's like created this thing. And you're like, wow, like this is
Yeah.
incredible that you have your own custom software. But then as the company grows and scales, it's like they kind of like add on things and like it gets
Yeah.
clunky. And I don't know if you've ever seen something like that.
I have. Ooh, yeah. I call it a spaghetti mess. So I had inherited at some point a Salesforce system actually that just had this bolted on and that add on this and it was you had no idea how everything was connected. In general, how would I feel about custom systems? I think if someone is going to have a custom homegrown software platform, they absolutely need an IT staff that can support it.
Mm,
And if they
yeah.
don't have that, it can't keep up with bugs and the growth that the company needs. So I have found the best systems to work with are ones that are out of the box but highly customizable.
Mm, yeah. For sure. I
Mhm.
it's just it just blows my mind when I see that. I'm like, well, look at this Frankenstein
Right.
like system. I'm like, holy crap. There's one in
Yeah.
particular. I'm not gonna say it on air here, but it blew my mind. It
Yeah.
absolutely blew my mind. I'm like, and then there was no training too on it. So like if
Right.
anybody like legacy people knew it, but then anybody new coming into it, it was like a
Yes.
nightmare trying to like explain, like, oh
Yes.
yeah, so this is how you do this. They're like, what in the world? Like,
Right.
where do I go
Right.
for this?
I've been there.
It's crazy. And also I want to talk about data for a second. So how
Sure.
important is data in a business? You talked about finances as a piece of that. How important is that to a business? And how can we use data to help grow and scale?
I think data is critical. Um, in order to find success and reach success, you need to define the finish line. And if you aren't measuring where you are in relation to the finish line, how do you know where you are? You might be
Yeah.
on completely wrong planet. So I think measurements of success and data are critical. They're great information. It tells you what's working and what's not working. And I particularly like KPIs were forward looking because then you're not reacting to something that happened in the past. You're taking care of mitigating challenges, good challenges, and risks that could be in the future. Um, so that's. I am sorry. I think I lost part two of what you asked me. I'm
Oh,
like, my
just
mind is like going in a
no,
million
it's all
different
good.
directions.
How can you? how can you use data to
Yeah.
help you actually scale the company from, I mean, just all the data points, right? Like how can you actually use it to grow?
Yeah, I think using it to grow would be things like, okay, I have X number of widgets I can make per minute, and I know that one person can make that number of widgets in a minute. If I want to sell X number of widgets, how many more people do I need? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
basic math in terms of production and manufacturing, or how many delivery drivers do you need, or how many staff need to be supported, how many customer service orientation people do I need to support the customers that we have out there as you grow. So every time you're measuring those um, factors, it tells you
Mm-hmm.
where you need to grow and add staff or add funding.
Yeah, for sure. And is how do we see that? Like as a business owner, how do we see the data?
That is a really great question.
Like, cuz I mean,
That
like how do we actually know that like as far as like I know on the P&L, right? You can see certain things on there, but how do we systematize it and actually see the data so we can actually understand where to go, who to hire? And I just didn't know if is there a certain platform that you recommend or things that you've seen that people use that data to actually grow.
Yeah, I think in the last couple organizations I've been in, we've used Salesforce. Again, sorry, I didn't mean to keep me Salesforce.
No,
So,
sorry. No, you're a
because they do,
Salesforce
I don't know.
advocate.
Or Google. We've used that. They have excellent dashboarding tools. I have used other dashboarding tools. But honestly, if someone, documentation of it, tracking it, measuring it, having measurable objectives is the key.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about the system. The
Mm.
systems can in fact sometimes complicate things, and one should not allow the system complication of entering the data deter them from actually collecting the data, because
Gotcha.
you could do it on a good old fashioned notebook.
Yeah. You're old fashioned. You're just like
Oh yeah, I'm old. I don't know what to say.
you're like drop the fancy stuff. Let's just get the notebook and let me see what's going on.
Yeah, because the data is only in a system is only as good as the people that put it in. And I've also worked in organizations where salespeople hate putting the data in.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't put the data in, leaders can't get the data out to dashboard it and really understand what's going on. So garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Give me
100%.
something good. Put it on a piece of paper if we need. At least I have the information, and then I can assimilate it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it is a struggle to force yourself to put in the data.
Right.
It is I know I've struggled with it, but I definitely anytime that I struggle with it, I'm like, I'm doing this for the greater good. it's
Yeah.
really it's really
Right.
why I'm doing it. Yes, it takes extra time. It's a little tedious. It's
Yeah.
annoying, but like then I can actually pull up a report or pull up
Right.
something and say, okay, how accurate is this? And
Right.
then can I make a decision off of this to understand, like, even like from a sales perspective, like meetings booked, how many
Right.
appointments, what's your show rate? I mean, all those
Right.
things help you understand like how much activity are you actually doing,
Right.
and then what are you actually applying to the business to grow and scale, like to your point about getting the right people, how many, okay, now that
Yep.
we know that, oh, we look at how many appointments we may need, one more appointment
Right.
setter to help with
Right.
that to grow the business. So yeah,
Right.
that's
And it's not just about activity, it's about productive activity, right?
mm,
Because data can also tell you, okay, I've got all of these appointments, but none of them are giving me the return on the investment that I actually want. That's
mm-hmm,
another decision. Maybe I need to downsize, or maybe I need to change up our marketing strategy. So
yeah,
that's really key information. And I think you hit the nail on the head where you started to say then you were getting the reports that you wanted. Most people struggle to put the data into the system because they don't see the value of the outputs.
yeah,
And so the quicker you can get to the valuable outputs that say, wow, this is really amazing data to help me run my business. I need to do more of this. And then everybody kind of gets on board with that. That's the key.
yeah,
If
yeah,
it's got to be value to them in order to put the effort.
yeah, 100%. And the productivity, I just wanted to touch on that too, because it's so true. Because you could be pedaling real fast in one direction and right into a wall, and you don't
Yeah.
even know. You have no clue. You don't even know. And so you may need to slow down a little bit or change bikes, get some new wheels, new
Well,
tires.
I don't know how hard your head is that you ran into a wall and you didn't know it, but hopefully you do know before you run into the wall.
Sometimes it's hard, business owners and executives. Some of us are stubborn.
Yeah.
We're stubborn. We got egos, and like we're just.
Determined, right? It's a determination.
That's a
It's a
nicer way to put it.
right. That's not a wall that I can't get through. I'm gonna just break through it.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna break through the wall. Even if we hit it, we gonna break it right through
Right?
it, and it's
I
just
don't
gonna
need this
go.
wall.
Right, right. And to our own detriment, sometimes
Yes.
we may go right through the wall and then fall over.
Yes. Yes. But
It's so true.
sometimes you got to take those calculated risks to see what's on the other side.
That's true. So that's the other thing I want to talk to you about actually is the risk taking. How do you, I guess, in your experience, how do you know how much actual risk to take as a business owner? Because I've seen it happen both ways. It's happened both ways with me, where I'm a risk taker. That's me. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes to my detriment, it actually hasn't paid off. And then sometimes like the risk is like, oh my God, if I would have never done that, like
Yeah.
this would have never happened. And then
Right.
people are like, oh, I would have never done that. But I
Right.
some people take the risk and get there. So what's your risk appetite with working with a business, and what have you seen to work?
Well, like most entrepreneurs and you, I have a big risk appetite. I'm not risk averse, and I do feel like you have to take risk. But I was actually communicating with someone earlier today about risk, and I said, listen, I don't. When I say I take risk, I don't take any risk without analyzing pros and cons and making an informed decision. They're calculated risks. I mitigate and I avoid and I do what I need to do. But you have to take risks to find out
Hmm.
what is on the other side. And I think it is different. Everyone's appetite is different. I'm not going to take a risk that's going to put my family in danger. But if it's going to give me a potential opportunity, I'll jump all day long.
Okay. Okay. And do you feel like that's most entrepreneurs or most executives that you work with, that they have a bigger appetite for risk?
Yeah, I think that is a key component of an entrepreneurial spirit that I talk a lot about. You have to keep pushing the envelope to see what's out there and how can I make this better, stronger, faster, easier for less money, whatever the case may be. If we all have a fear of the what ifs, but
Yeah.
overcoming that what if fear, like you said, if I hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have all this, right?
Yes. Yes.
And lots of people said, don't do that. That's too risky. Just keep your job and get your salary and get the benefits. I'm like, but this sucks. And
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to work here anymore. I'm going
100%.
to, and I'm so glad I did. And so I can tell you that of the risks that I've taken, and there has never been a risk that I've taken that I have regretted taking. I have made mistakes in business,
Hmm.
of course, but I think that's par for the course, and you learn from those.
Yeah. What's been the biggest risk that you've ever taken?
Well, it was actually a personal risk, not a business risk. You want a
Okay. Go
personal
go
one?
go for it. Go for it. Yeah, yeah. Let's hear it.
Yeah, my husband and I dated for about 6.5 years. When we got engaged, we had met in college. The first day of college, we just had our 27th wedding anniversary.
Wow,
And
congratulations.
thank you. When I moved to the Washington D.C. area and left my family business, family small business, and left home, that was hugely scary to come to DC. And I was kind of banking on us getting married and having a happy life together. And it was the best decision I ever made. But man, it was scary. I left everything I knew.
It's always scary to go from one environment that you really know to something that you don't.
Yeah.
It is very. I moved a lot of times in my life, but it usually always pays off in some way, shape, or form. Though, like you
Yeah.
get to learn about. new people, new environments, how other people do things in a different space. Like it's just I look at it from a positivity
Yeah.
standpoint of like, hey, look, what's all the positive things I can actually learn through this experience,
Yeah.
um, instead of the negatives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really do believe that the when we get to the end, whatever that is, I hope for me it's another 100 years from now. But when we get there, I think that there will be more regrets of things that aren't done than things that are done.
Yeah,
And that's often heard, but you can always change course. If you take a
yeah,
risk and it doesn't work, you can always change course again. We're not stuck in that place. So
yeah, for sure, for sure. Uh, what does it mean to stand in the gap?
ooh, you've been reading about me. My a COO, former COO of mine that I adore, named Michelle. She coined the term for me. That's the name of my coaching program. But it was developed through I would be running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but going, I'm going crazy. Like I need to do this and I do this and nobody's taking care of that. And I need to get this done and it's impacting I'm just going to do this job because nobody's doing it. And she'd say, Steph, if you're willing to stand in the gap, I've got your back all day long. So for me, that's the crux of my coaching where I teach people find the hole, find the space, find the need, find what's not being done and solve the problem for your owner,
Mm,
for your manager, for your supervisor, for your community, whatever it is. There are numerous examples where I look back and I've stood in the gap because something needed to be done and nobody else was doing it. Um, that's what it means to me is
yeah,
solving that problem.
that's. I feel like that's a very underestimated thing you just said, though. Like it sounds too simple, but it's something that a lot of people don't do.
No.
People see things, and then instead of like that gap, they complain, or they say like, oh, somebody else will do that.
Right.
They point fingers.
Right.
Some
Not
people
my
just ignore
job
it.
is the not that's not my job
Yeah,
is
not my
number one.
job.
I'm
Yeah,
like I've never heard those words except for just this example. I've never said those words. Like I'm like
yeah.
everything. So when I work for a company or even my own company, again, this is an entrepreneurial mindset, an owner mindset. Everything is my responsibility to take care of the company and make sure that it's successful. So therefore,
Hmm.
everything that needs to be done has the potential to be my job. And if somebody else isn't doing it, and I know it's in the best interest of the company, then I'm going to do it.
Mm,
So can I give you another example?
yeah.
Yeah. So the owner of my or the cover of my next book is going to be called Owner Mindset and how to foster an
Hmm.
entrepreneurial spirit at every level. And the cover of the book has a crumpled up piece of paper. And I ask folks when I coach them, are you person A or person B? And that's are you the person that sees the piece of garbage when you walk down the hall and picks it up and takes care of it because you know that's the best thing for the company? Or do you walk past it and say, that's not my job, that's not my garbage? Because that person's
Mm.
never going to be successful in the world. To be successful, you've got to act like the owner and take care of it, take care of the business as if it's your own.
What? Who's saying that it's just garbage? Because I feel like if I had that question asked directly to me, I feel like I would always be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. But you know that they're not picking it up. Yeah, you know for a fact.
All right, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. I guess I'll qualify it. If it's just a dry piece of like office paper, if it looks kind of nasty, the truth is I'd probably walk past it too. But we're just
Yeah.
assuming it's just a plain white piece of paper that somebody dropped.
But also I know a lot of people just to, especially if they're the style of like a people pleaser, they're just going to you ask them that question, they're just going to say, oh yeah, I would definitely pick it up and put it in the trash. But you know deep down, if no one was looking, they ain't picking up that piece of paper.
The managers are always looking. They're always looking to see who's going to step up and do what nobody wants to do.
Mm,
That's how one finds success in the corporate world.
yeah, 100%. What if, since we're on this topic, what if the job that you have currently is very toxic, but you see a lot of these gaps and you see pieces of paper that could be picked up, but you don't want to pick it up because you're not going to get recognized?
I wow, that's just such a loaded question. Um, I mean, I'll go back to what you first said, and I would say to somebody, if the environment's toxic, then get the heck out of there. No one makes us stay in that space, particularly in perhaps in our life, in our community, we don't always have the flexibility to get up and leave. But I would argue
Hmm.
that we can find resources to move out of negative situations. But in the workplace, no one's making us stay there. There are jobs available, and anyone can leave a toxic workplace and move on. But in the meantime, if you are stuck in a toxic workplace, then the other thing about standing in the gap is you're always developing other additional skills and abilities to become that generalist
True.
that enhances your resume. Why not?
True. Yeah. Yeah.
While you're looking for next.
So you're an optimist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You look at situations and see what opportunities are there.
Yeah, I mean that's a growth mindset. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
probably a entrepreneurial characteristic as well. I mean, you have to. I could doesn't do me or any good to look at something in a negative light or say that's not going to work. I have to believe it's going to work. I put everything
So
into everything I do.
I feel like though, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but are we in a generation right now uh that I feel like there's a very entitlement position in this day and age. Now, I'm saying that because you're looking at opportunity, right? And I'm the same way. I see things and I'm like, oh, it's opportunity. Let me jump on that. But sometimes I feel like with the generation that's here now, the younger generation, is it fair to say that there's this level of entitlement of being like, oh, I'm not doing that unless I'm going to get paid this amount, or I'm not going to do that unless my title says this, or and they're not kind of looking at the opportunities. They're just trying to hone in on whatever they've been given and
Yeah.
own that space. Have you seen that? Am I off?
No, 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 but you're showing your age. You're not, if you're not in that generation anymore. No, I don't think you're off. That's definitely something I've heard from owners that people, I mean, interns are walking into places going, "Well, I want more money. You want me to move that pencil from over here to over there, and that wasn't on the job description. I'm not doing it."
Mm-hmm.
You're
So
like,
you know what
"What?"
I'm talking about.
Well, I do know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking
I
about.
do, but I don't know that it's a generational thing. I have 22
Ah,
year olds. They
okay.
just graduated from college and they were taught hard work ethic. And they know that I never got a raise after I never got a raise that I didn't work the job for a year before I worked the extra work to earn the raise. And
Right.
they observed that and they observed us in our small businesses and they know what it takes to grind it out and earn your keep. I mean, they've gotten lots of things. They're very uh, they've been very spoiled, but we also made them work, and
Yeah.
so I do think that it is something that's taught, and individuals need to be taught to earn what they get for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm a big believer in the earn. Like you got to earn your keep.
Yeah,
But you should also be celebrated and promoted if you do.
absolutely,
Um, I think a
absolutely.
lot of people they do try to earn their keep, and then unfortunately, leadership doesn't understand that if you want to keep people around, you got to give them some opportunity. You got to
Yeah,
celebrate it. If you're not going to promote them, you better celebrate them.
yeah,
Because otherwise, like, why are they going to keep doing it?
yeah. So let's talk about the word promote because I don't disagree with you, but as a business owner in a very small organization, as I hire people, it's going to be me and them. there's there's
Right.
no room for promoting in small business sometimes, right? It's just a very flat organization. So, but recognizing with bonuses and other rewards and incentives absolutely is a great thing. Employers can take advantage. They see a rock star, they're knocking it out of the park, and they will let that person, that high achiever, keep knocking it out of the park all day
Hmm.
long because they
Hmm.
need that person. They're like, they don't want to turn them off and slow them down. In one point I had in a job many years ago, I had two full-time jobs. I got moved to a new position. They didn't replace me on the old position. And after about 6 months, I said to my boss, I really need you to backfill that other position. And he said, but you're doing great. Like, you're just doing both. It's fine. I'm like, but I'm going to die. So you need to take care of
Right.
that. I'm sorry you haven't been able to fill that position, but move me over to one full-time position, because each full-time position in itself was already 50, 60 hours. It was
Yes.
crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, I think you need to learn to speak up. And I did. I learned to speak up and say, this is what I need. And if you want me to keep giving, then I have to be rewarded for that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the faucet is going to turn off at some point.
You only got so much energy in the tank.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, let that be a learning lesson for all the leaders and people that are watching and listening. It seems like a lot of people they're more just agreeing with certain things. There's no questions yet. So we're gonna keep it rolling. I want to talk to you a little bit about about your brand of who you are, a little bit about your speaking, the book, going a little bit into that. Um, what has a personal brand done for you, as far as being able to speak on stages, being able to have a book and be an author? What has that done for you and your business?
It certainly drives clients to me. Um, it has helped people see value in my communication because it's more widespread, and I've been able to reach other influencers that have helped promote the business. So I think it's been amazing. An incredible journey.
Yeah. What
I'm
what
loving it every day.
what made you become an author?
Oh gosh. I always had the idea in my head that I wanted to write a book. It was actually, my first book was actually a children's book that came out last April. And I had this idea in my head for 18 years and maybe 20 years. I got out of the corporate space. I started my new small business, 5 Foot View, and this creativity just started flowing out of my head, and it was like it had been bottled up for years. And so this concept that I had just got on paper, and I found this amazing illustrator, like named Lorenzo from Romania, and he helped me craft these ideas that I had in my head and put it down. And similarly to Stand in the Gap, it was, I saw a need to help children with fear of noises, loud noises, and I couldn't find a book out there. So I did it. I made it.
So you just made it. So
I made it.
is there do you have any regrets doing it?
No, no, I loved it. I learned lots of things. So then
Yeah, yeah.
the second book was a business book. That's called Dark and Silent Office, about digital accessibility. I learned a lot of things through the process. So absolutely no regrets, just learning how to do it differently and improve. And now I have another client that I'm helping him self-publish his book because of all the things I learned through those processes. So
Yeah, nice.
definitely no regrets, just all learning. And could have done that a little differently, but it's all good.
Yeah, always a learning lesson through everything that
Yeah,
we do.
yeah.
And what is speaking done to your business? Well, actually, let me ask: how do you get speaking engagements?
I ask for them.
Sometimes it's so simple, so simple. Just ask. You'll
Yeah.
get on stages.
Yeah, I ask. I've applied to several. In the digital accessibility book, I'm mostly targeting HR professionals. That's part of my background, and I want to speak to HR professionals to help make workplaces more inclusive. So I'm really targeting and reaching out to people that are in the HR DEI spaces to help me open those doors, and maybe take, I think DEI is having a rough time right now, out
Oh
there,
yeah.
and but it doesn't need to be, in that it's, and we've overcomplicated it in so many ways, and really it's just about saying, a diverse environment and an inclusive environment, we're going to have a better business
Right.
because there's brilliance out there. And we know that the more diverse our audience, our teams are, the more phenomenal our decision making is, our revenue can be. And so, why not? It's good for business.
Yeah.
So, I love talking about that and speaking to HR professionals. And it, for me, it just is a nice big bow around everything that I'm doing, standing it up and helping businesses grow.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask you a very
I'm afraid. I can see that look on your face. I'm afraid.
so about the DEI space, because I think it's a very timely topic, and I'm hoping that I could talk to the team about getting this episode out sooner than later. Um, what I believe that DEI should not be under HR. That's my belief.
Okay.
I think it should be under like business strategy. I think it should be an overarching business goal of the business, and it be tied to things that are also um, impact metrics for revenue producing activities as well as people.
Okay.
The reason why is I've been blessed enough to interview a lot of amazing DEI leaders, and get into side conversations. I've actually personally spoke at a lot of different HR conferences, especially with the Change Your Circle, Change Your Life
Okay.
um, piece of it, where I'm kind of talking on a very top level thing, like how do we actually change our circle?
Right.
And so I got booked a lot in 2020 and 2022 or 2021, um, especially with all the noise around it. Which I'll definitely make some intros to some of those places I spoke at.
Thank you.
But I I think the biggest problem is like we just told these HR leaders, right, to go in and do like give me a DEI strategy,
Yeah.
and at first it was like, okay, we need a PR, we need the press release, we need the website, we need a statement, we need blah blah blah. It was like a plug and play,
Right.
thing. And then you had all these people that some people knew how to actually implement this kind of strategy, and some people were just trying their best.
Right.
God bless them. They were just
Right.
trying their best in that area. And the
Right.
problem is leaders need to have uh at the end of the day, leaders need to have like executives, they need to have real business ties to initiatives of what they're doing. Otherwise, they're just going to stop
Right.
doing it.
Right.
And I just believe that putting it under HR, it made it almost like this expense thing instead
Hmm.
of, like you said, it can literally be a revenue producing. You may, oh, hold on. It's going to hit me. It's going to hit me. I saw this Netflix special. Hold on. It's going to hit me. There's a Netflix special about, what was it? Doritos, or no, was it Cheetos? Cheetos. And it was amazing because this person that worked literally in the factory gave them an idea of how to tackle and get into the Latino market. And it's an amazing it's amazing documentary, but
I'll
they
look for it.
opened up a whole category. And guess what? That the green what was it, like street corn with was it street corn was it Cheetos? Street corn Cheetos are actually the biggest profit, that brings in the most profit for Cheetos.
Okay.
It's over the actual like
Wow.
regular Cheetos. And now they open up all this other place. So I'm saying that story because if they would have never looked and had a more diverse way
Right.
of approach to business and getting more people at the seat at the table to have those conversations and ideas,
Right.
like they would have never opened that wing of their business and that potential revenue. So I feel like it needs to be tied to business strategy instead
Right.
of under the HR, where it's like it's just a people thing. What's your hot take on that?
First of all, you made me hungry. I'm like, did I eat lunch today? Okay. I love chickens. What is my right. What is my
You
take?
gonna
Let me
you
think.
gonna love that documentary then if you love Cheetos. You gonna be hungry, so you'll be snacking on Cheetos as you're watching
Right,
it.
right. Um, what is I? Gosh, I have so many thoughts about that. I don't disagree that it could be. I mean, I do think that it is a business strategy. Is definitely tied to numbers. Um, the people aspect of it and HR aspect is because there's so much in order to get a company to diversify their population and be inclusive. We need to have all kinds of training in
Oh,
interviewing and
for
right,
sure.
like, and so that's the HR aspect of it, where like you
Hmm.
need to get rid of bias, like blatant bias and unconscious bias.
Hmm.
And from my book's perspective, is your website and application process even digitally accessible to people with disabilities? Like,
Mm.
that's the HR part of it that has
Yep.
to be done to make the business strategy work.
Totally agree.
So I agree with you that we know that it's good for business. We know that diverse environments have a lower turnover and the costs that are involved in turnover. So again, that's all in HR. So I think I don't disagree. They certainly can operate hand in hand, um, as departments next to each other with the common goal, just as in sales
Yes.
needs to support that.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with it. Is like I think it totally should be not just on HR's shoulders, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like it
Right.
needs other departments need to come in and maybe
Right.
it's a council, maybe
Right.
it's an initiative program that brings in these leaders as advisors to like and they're held accountable, for that initiative, but it's bringing in other things, not just all on HR and saying like, "Hey,
Yeah.
go do that."
Yeah.
Because it's just at some point it's just kind of I've seen some of the behind the scenes. I've seen some of these budgets that they give to put these initiatives. It's especially with how big the company is,
Right.
it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable about like you want somebody to create something brand new that's never been, it's never been implemented before in this company, and you're
Right.
giving them pennies,
Yeah.
to be able to do that. And it's like
Right.
one person usually leading the initiative of something that will probably normally take a team of people to do it.
Right. So I'm gonna communicate something maybe controversial. You can like
Go
it or
for it.
not.
Go for it. Go for it.
I think when it's just in HR and the aspect of the financial benefits aren't brought to the strategic level of a company, it's just to check the box. And that's why
Mm,
companies would have a small budget. They can say that they've got a diversity program, but don't put anything really toward it. So do you really have
right.
a diversity program? But they can say it and they can check that box, and that's kind of BS, right?
Yeah.
So really putting your money where your mouth is and making an inclusive culture and a welcoming culture and an open door, for everybody, because it's good for business, I think is really the approach that we need to take.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. And I don't think it's too controversial because I think a lot of people know that. They just might not say it.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that's why it's controversial. Nobody really wants to
Yeah.
admit that they're doing the check the box thing.
Yeah. But
But
they
you can
are,
tell when
for
somebody's
sure.
doing a check the box thing,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
you
See
know.
see on this podcast we like to be keep it real. Well,
Right.
we want people to really learn this stuff. Like
Yeah.
if we keep tiptoeing around stuff, nothing's going to
Right.
get done. Nothing's going to
Right.
get done. So,
Right.
thank you for the work that you do. I think it's work that needs to be done,
Yeah.
and we got to continue to keep pushing and moving that needle
Yeah.
in that space. So that's incredible. That's incredible. And I know I put you a little in the hot seat, but you know,
That's all right. I always
that
love
that's
a
what
good
that's what I
challenge.
do. That's what I do. Um, what's one takeaway that you can give the audience as far as how to like what's one thing that they can look at in their business? I know you said delegation in the beginning of this. I guess what's one, is there a checklist? Is there like an audit process that we need to look at in our business to understand it a little bit more clear?
I think so. Maybe not. I mean, yes, I could give you a checklist. Probably don't have enough time for that right now. But I would say, as a follow-on to delegation, the clear authority and responsibility is the next step beyond delegation. Who's responsible for what, and level setting expectations of who's going to get it done, because that's where I see most organizations begin to fail. They have multiple people working on the same thing, nobody working on other things, somebody working over somebody and stepping over. So defining clear accountability and responsibility to get things done is really the starting point to a successful organization after the entrepreneur is ready to delegate.
Yeah. And are you a believer in hiring contractors as well?
Yes, I am. I'm a
Okay.
contractor.
That's right. They bring you in.
Yeah,
A
right?
contractor. That's
Of
right.
course I am. I mean, that's a phenomenal way so I serve as a fractional COO and HR executive. That's a phenomenal way for a small business to gain expertise
Hmm.
without paying the annual salary and benefits of someone that has 30 years of experience. And
Yeah.
fractionals can be brought in: a chief marketing officer, a chief financial officer, a product owner, all of those types of executives that you can get, hours a week or hours a month from, to continue to build your company until you're ready to fill that hole.
That's amazing. Where can people find your upcoming book? Is there a release date? Can you give us anything?
I no, I can't. so
Oh no.
I will
I was
continue to
trying to
keep
get
up.
the exclusive.
No, I'm sorry. I'll send it to you when it's done. The
There you
truth
go.
is that my I started it and I got busier than I expected with Dark and Silent Office and the accessibility book, and my coaching program, and those are taking off. So it actually got moved to the back burner a little bit, and I still try and preserve a few hours a week for pickleball and meditation. So
There you go. That's
haven't
important.
gotten there. Haven't gotten there yet. But StephanieWarlick.com. I'll keep everyone updated and informed. And where I am now with the book is just interviewing entrepreneurs and small business owners, and really validating my thoughts about the entrepreneurial spirit, and and validating that we can teach people how to be successful in the corporate world by thinking like an owner.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, thank you so much for being on this episode and just dropping so much knowledge, wisdom. Everybody go buy the book. Go buy the book. Also in the future, go buy the future book, Owner Mindset. Definitely go buy the book. And definitely connect with Stephanie. I think that I always tell people every single episode that the people that I bring on are reachable.
Yeah.
Like all you gotta do is shoot a message. I wrote a whole book on it, Change Your Circle, Change Your Life, and that's what it's all about, is being able to connect with people, because you never know where that conversation may go. Um, and you really know what you're talking about, especially on the people side of really cultivating that team and getting your business to the next level. So thanks for being on here. We're gonna have all your socials and
Thank you.
everything once we publish it and all that stuff.
Thank you.
So people will be able to connect with you. And if you're listening, watching, to everybody in here on the live, thank you so much for tuning in. That's why I keep looking over here. I got the chat over here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody that needs to hear it today. Once it goes live. And don't forget, if you can change your circle, you could change your life. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for being on here, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thank you.
Peace.
So great to see you.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell for more amazing content that we're going to be putting out. And don't forget, you can change your circle to change your life.